BFM 89.9, good morning. This is Nadia, Hassan, and I bring you today's headlines, or in this case, today's headline, because unsurprisingly, as for the past few days, ever since Saturday, they've all been sharing the headline on the missing MH370. As we're into day 6 and still no kind of concrete proof, but as this point in time, after the euphoria and, when everybody stands together in solidarity and all the shock comes off, now it's the time to sort of not really play the blame game, but it's time to look for deeper answers. Once you're over and once everybody bands together, now you're starting to wonder why. 6 days into the search, nothing has actually been found. And there are so many theories about it that it's actually getting to the point where people are getting frustrated. And one of the questions that we brought up in today's segment was the fact that the local media are probably not asking as deeper questions as some could say, compared to some of the international media. So the NSA goes, MH370 could have veered off path, and that doesn't actually explain why it suddenly disappeared from radar. But basically, Air Force Chief Commander confirms military radar detected and identified aircraft heading for Straits of Malacca, but it could have been anything. So with all these kinds of news coming up, unfortunately the symptom of these days is that everybody wants their news quick, and because you want your news quick, you get a lot of this. Let's not forget when the plane first went off, there was a whole rumor about Nanjing, which of course didn't turn out to be true. Now, just as we're going on air, there's pieces of debris apparently spotted by Chinese satellites, which I'm sure is going to be on the papers tomorrow, but still, nothing has been reported. And then Star actually apps it up very nicely with saying, which way now? And exactly, that's the thing. We don't know which way and we don't know how it goes. There's new twists to it. And as days go on, it's just getting more and more things uncovered. Let's not forget, there's that scandal going around with the co-pilot letting people in to have a smoke, and all this kind of dirty laundry that's coming out. It's very reminiscent of the Chilean miners. You remember when the Chilean miners actually got trapped underneath? It was when a lot of secrets came out, because that's when the wives found out that there were mistresses. They were all waiting by the mouth of the mine. I'm sure, in those cases, the guys would probably just prefer to stay underground. But in the case of this one, you're getting a lot of this dirty laundry. Now you're getting a lot of the good stuff and a lot of the bad stuff, so you're wondering what's going to be the aftermath after this. But the fact of the matter still remains, 6 days in and nothing, black hole disappearing. And so, as it says, the stars is very, very apt. Malay Mail goes with a bit of troubled waters, as 5 days on, still no sign of it. But of course, if you actually look into the pages of the paper, although it is very hard to keep up hopes in dark times, and in fact they actually do mention that about the frustration of long waits, but on the next page, in a way of helping to good hope, they also say, do not lose it. In the end, until whatever happens and until the fat lady sings, we obviously don't know what happens to that plane, and then we'll see how it goes. Now, in other news, aside from MH370, because there's actually still no much in terms of new news, then you have the Kajang by-election, which actually has gotten lost, buried as this case, in page 17 of so many pages of MH17, which is what people want to read. So on page 17, it talks about rejects opposition's move, voters told. Do not allow Pakatan to suddenly hold by-elections without valid reasons. And this, of course, will probably be the small news fry, but sadly, as the search widens and the news starts to taper off, we'll probably see a bit more about that. But it's interesting to see how the headlines actually position it. But what other interesting thing is going on in terms of political is that one of the things that made the business headlines today was about the water concessionaires. The big deal is that they're being bought out after 5-6 years of a stalemate. Now they apparently have to take a 2 billion ringgit cut. MB Khalid actually said that after evaluating, they said that the price was actually 2 billion lower than expected. And I think, of course, companies who want to sell their assets are no way going to do a bargain sale. They're not a charity after all. And because of that, that's when they might actually go to arbitration. So hey, more issues with water, and if you can actually see out the window behind me, you can't see anything because it's hazy. The Malay papers go with a slightly more sensationalist quote, Tango deactive, which is still one of those still on the headlines. But Utusan just says no indication. Tanpa petunjuk, no clues, no nothing. We've seen a lot of news being repeated on wires these days, so it's hard. And then, of course, there's this other silly little story which a lot of people, I'm not surprised, are a bit annoyed with. Apparently, a fisherman found something that looked like a life raft. Informed the authorities, mind you, kept it afloat to inform the authorities, only to have it sink when the authorities came near. And then the authorities said, we will actually look at the pictures and see whether it's a life craft. And it begs the question, why not just dive and find the life craft? It's one of those really silly things. And so you wonder why people are frustrated. It's because of stuff like this. It's very, very hard to say, and people just want answers. but you still do keep forgetting that it's only been kind of like 5-6 days. And let's not forget the story of the Air France jet that actually disappeared in a very similar manner. It took 2 years before anything has happened. So the sad thing is you wonder whether closure will come soon. At the moment, it doesn't seem to be an indication. So, but to end on a lighter, slightly lighter note, Metro takes a slightly more sensationalist look at things. So they're talking about taking the steps of the people who are boarding, and this is a lot of sad pictures. It's sad news all around, actually, as the MH370 mystery continues. Is it black hole? Is it, was it terrorism? Too many questions, not enough answers. And I have a feeling that in the next couple of weeks, it's just going to be like this. So on that slightly sadder note, we wrap up. Still looking, still no leads. Hopefully a fresh day will bring more information. But tune in tomorrow, because I'm sure that whole story about the Chinese satellite and the debris will probably get fleshed out in tomorrow's papers. That's all for me. I'm Nadia Hassan for BFM 89.9 Morning Headlines.